Many people think that getting to 15% body fat requires extreme workouts and restrictive diets, but it can actually feel easy by following 5 simple steps. After 25 years of coaching high-performing professionals, I've seen exactly what it takes, and I've maintained 15 to 20% body fat myself for over a decade. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 5 rules for getting to 15% body fat without sacrificing your enjoyment of food or your sanity. To start, let me show you how to eat in a way that keeps you full and makes fat loss feel easier without extreme diets or constant hunger. Prioritize protein. One of the best ways to make fat loss more manageable is to increase your protein intake. It helps you stay full, reduces cravings, and helps build and maintain your muscle. My client Hannah told me that she'd been trying to lose fat for years, eating what she thought was healthy and exercising regularly, but nothing was really changing. She was always hungry and had a hard time keeping her calories under control. Because she was on the smaller side, she didn't have a lot to work with. I asked her to add more protein to each meal. Greek yogurt to her usual oatmeal and berries. A chicken breast to her lunch. By increasing her protein intake, she found her appetite stayed more manageable. And she was able to cut out her post-dinner snacking, which had always caused her calories to go over. If you're not sure how to hit your protein numbers, you can download my free Lean and Strong protein plan. It includes a list of lean protein sources and a sample meal plan that takes all the guesswork out of food choices. Get it at the link in the description. My protein recommendation is usually 0.7 to 1 grams of protein per pound of your body weight. That's 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram per day. If you're 160 pounds, you'll need 112 to 160 grams per day. Spread that amount across at least 3 meals so you don't go long periods without eating, which often leads to bad food choices or overeating. It's also a little better for muscle building to have protein multiple times a day. You're keeping a more steady supply of protein for muscle protein synthesis. So eating enough protein helps reduce your appetite, but in order for it to help you build muscle, your body needs the right stimulus. This is actually more important than we used to think. You can't just eat tons of protein and grow muscle. Without training, you're not getting the real benefit. Muscle is valuable for reducing your body fat percentage because that's the ratio of fat to lean tissue, primarily muscle, but also blood, bone, organs, skin, and connective tissue, tendons, and ligaments. If you were to put on some muscle, but you didn't lose any fat, your body fat percentage will still go down because it's all about the proportions. That's also why different body fat percentages look different on different people. Someone who's 15% body fat can just be really slim, or they can be really lean and defined. So, real talk about body fat percentages. I've used 15% as the title for this video because it seems like a number that a lot of people aspire to. But there are a lot of misconceptions about what certain body fat percentages look like, and it's actually really hard to know for sure what your body fat percentage is. To determine your true body composition, apart from you being dissected after death, which probably won't be that useful, it's a combination of DEXA and a lab-grade impedance machine. Now, most of us don't have access to both of those simultaneously, at least not regularly. So a visual representation can be a reasonable guide. Here's a chart that I've created for men, and here's the chart for women. Both of the leanest shots in the women's chart are me. One is from right before I got pregnant with my son when I was doing a couple of fitness competitions and photo shoots. The 15 to 20% is from a couple of years later, and that represents what my day-to-day physique looked like at that time. I'm a bit leaner than that now, and I definitely find it easier now that my son is older. So 15% for a woman is about the equivalent of 8 to 10% for a man. It's very lean, and most people don't need or want to get that low. I have my particular genetics, and I can stay comfortably at a lower than normal body fat percentage. I'm also a lifelong athlete, first in karate and then in natural bodybuilding, and a fitness professional who's been committed to the lifestyle for so long that it's easy and very healthy for me, especially since I'm achieving it with regular physical activity, weights and cardio and movement, and a balanced nutrition plan with enough protein, healthy fats, fiber, vegetables, and fruit. And my favorite treat foods pretty regularly as well. Most people don't understand body fat percentages that well, so they don't have realistic expectations. The tools that most people use, like commercial body fat devices, are not very accurate. When I showed the chart to my client Jennifer, who's in her 50s, and she said she was in the 26 to 30% range, which was probably accurate. But then she said she wanted to be in the 10 to 14% range. And I told her that somewhere between 8 to 12% is basically stage ready for a woman in a bodybuilding competition. It's not sustainable even for the leanest women. I had a comment from a woman on another video that I did that she said she was 8% body fat. She was very slim, but no, she wasn't 8%. Without significant muscle mass, like a figure competitor at the Olympia level, women don't normally get to a true 8% body fat. Certainly not for more than a couple of days when stage ready and without chemical assistance. 15% body fat can be fairly comfortable for a man, even in his 40s or 50s, with the right strategy and commitment. For most women, a real 20 to 22% is probably a more reasonable range to reach for. If you want a simple estimate, take a couple of pictures of yourself and put them into ChatGPT and ask for your approximate body fat percentage. I've used this myself and with some of my clients, and it seems fairly reasonable, but as with all things with AI, always take the response with some healthy skepticism. Most importantly, remember that the actual number, your actual body fat percentage, doesn't matter. It's not a competition for lowest body fat percentage. If you look better, leaner, more defined, that's the way that you define your success. Definition and tone, which is really just being lean and having a reasonable amount of muscle underneath. For those of us that prefer that fit look, that's really what it's all about, muscle. To build that muscle, you need to exercise strategically. This isn't just about burning calories. It's about building muscle that helps you lose fat more easily. Weight training should be the focus of your program as you get older. Without enough stimulus for muscle growth, you'll gradually lose your muscle, 0.8 to 1% of your muscle mass per year starting at 40. And getting to 15% isn't just weight loss, it's about fat loss. That means getting and keeping as much muscle as you can while losing body fat. If your only form of exercise is cardio, you'll lose weight, but it probably won't look the way you want it to. With more muscle, you'll look defined and athletic, not just skinny. I've always hated when people called me that. I'm not. I am lean and strong. So strength train 2 to 4 times per week, short focused workouts, about 25 to 45 minutes of actual weights is enough for most people. Our recovery from exercise tends to go down as we get older, so you might not feel as good doing several really long sessions in a row. If you're achy and sore when you're starting every workout, it's probably a bit too much and you're not recovering well enough. So pay attention to how you feel. Although, to be honest, I'm well into my 40s now and I haven't personally noticed any difference in my recovery from exercise. Probably because I pay enough attention to the other things that affect recovery. In fact, this past summer, I was using a fat loss strategy called high energy flux, which makes sense for people with good fitness who really enjoy exercise as part of their lifestyle. I wasn't actually trying to lose fat, but my physical activity just naturally led to it. Let me explain. I was lifting weights 2 to 3 times a week. On weekends, I was going for long bike rides with my family, 2 hours or more. And for 3 Sundays in a row, we went kayaking for 2 to 3 hours after doing that long bike ride on Saturday. So even with the extra summer food, the patio lunches and dinners, ice cream and popsicles, I was a bit leaner in the summer. Maybe that's happened to you if you're away on a European holiday and you ate a lot of food, but you walked so much that you didn't gain any weight. When we were in Barcelona and Prague in 2024, we were walking so much. And some days we did 22,000 steps, just sightseeing, way more than I usually do. And I definitely wasn't skipping the tasty, high calorie density food. It's easy for me to be active in the summer because I enjoy outdoor physical activity like that. And I'm in good enough shape to handle the longer exercise sessions without being completely wiped out, although they're still pretty tiring. This type of metabolically active lifestyle, sometimes called high calorie turnover, is fun. Eating more food, doing more activities, it's probably what we should be doing, but it's hard to fit in if you're very busy. My physical activity isn't as high in the winter, even though I still do my weight sessions and martial arts training. My family and I end up going to a lot of winter markets and eating some tasty treats, but then we often come home and sit around watching movies instead of the bike ride or kayaking. Ideally, you adjust your calorie intake as your physical activity goes down, but that's not always easy to do. So I tell my clients that it's actually better to increase your physical activity strategically, but put the main focus on having a consistent nutrition plan. Because then you can manage things better when you have a huge project at work, or you end up traveling a lot, or you get injured or sick. It's important that you do get used to having a reasonably high activity level. It needs to become normal for you. Exercising helps with appetite management, and long-term studies of people who've lost weight and kept it off for years show that they almost always exercise regularly. It becomes part of their lifestyle. So make sure you're doing at least 150 minutes of moderate cardio or 75 minutes of vigorous cardio per week. And that's just the basic health recommendation. If you're really busy, you might have to squeeze in a session or two of short cardio during the week, then maybe you can include 1 or 2 longer exercise sessions on the weekend. Get at least 7,000 steps a day and closer to 10,000 if you really want to push the fat loss. If you sit a lot for work, make sure you stand up at least every 30 minutes, walk around, stretch, do a few body weight movements. These little efforts throughout the day can add up. And to make fat loss feel effortless, you need to design your environment properly. Willpower, discipline, totally overrated. You need to set up your environment to make positive changes easy and make your bad habits hard to do. There's a well-known example from Google's New York office from 2012. The employees were eating large amounts of candy from clear jars in these little kitchens throughout the building. And to encourage healthier choices, Google replaced the clear containers of M&Ms with opaque ones and moved the healthier snacks like the nuts and the dried fruit into clear, easy to reach jars. Over just 7 weeks, that little switch led to the employees consuming 3.1 million fewer calories without any of the food options being removed. So how can you use this idea at home? Make eating healthy food easier by keeping it out on the counter or buying pre-cut veggies and fruit. Use smaller plates and bowls to help you with portion control. You tend to eat less when the servings look larger on smaller dishes. Around the holidays, my husband was constantly bringing home treats, chocolate, gummies, crispy toffee chocolate, which is my favorite. Then we also went to some winter markets and brought back treats like shortbread cookies. The funny thing about the cookies is that I had them in a brown bag and put them in a lower cupboard that we don't use that often, and they lasted a couple of weeks longer than they usually would have. I know some people think it's better to keep foods that tempt you out of the house, but that only works if you're living alone and if you don't want to have those foods at all. And I wanted those cookies. If you have a partner or kids, then tempting foods are going to be around. So you can ask your spouse to hide things for you, or at least make eating treat foods harder by putting them out of sight, or even outside of the kitchen in a different room. I've actually totally forgotten about chocolates that I've hidden that way, but they're a fun surprise when you do find them. Don't forget to design your schedule too. Prepare your meals ahead of time, bring healthy snacks when you're on the go, and build routines that make your food decisions easier. But even when your food systems are in place, you won't know if they're working unless you track things properly. So rule 4 is track progress using multiple methods. You can be making great progress with fat loss and the scale won't move that much. If you put on a pound of muscle but lose a pound of fat, your weight will stay the same, but your body fat percentage will go down. And that's what you're aiming for. You do want to weigh yourself, but often with my clients, I use average weighing, taking your weight every day and then working out a weekly average. Your weight can go up and down on a daily basis because of your water and salt intake, temporary inflammation from workouts or hormonal changes, or where you are with your digestive cycle. With average weighing, you can monitor the trend and not get tied to the number on that one particular day. Take progress photos every 4 weeks or so using the same lighting, pose, and the same clothes. It's often useful to film a short progress video of yourself turning around slowly. This gives a more realistic view of your body and where the fat is coming off. Sometimes you'll see tiny little details like less body fat around the ribs that you might miss in your photos. Measure your waist and hips. Once your body fat percentage gets lower, you'll see those changes in your belly fat that you've probably been waiting for. And of course, make sure you also track your physical activity, your workout program, how many cardio sessions you're doing, maybe even your steps. If your body fat levels start to come up again, you can look at what you might need to change. And remember that none of this will work if you're eating in a way that isn't sustainable for you. So build a nutrition plan that's sustainable for you. If your plan includes cutting out all your favorite foods or just starving yourself, it won't keep you at 15% body fat. It's also a miserable way to live. Trying to eat 1,200 calories to get lean will only leave you exhausted and won't give you a chance to build muscle. In my 20s, I tried to eat only clean whenever I was trying to lose weight. I do really well for weeks or sometimes months at a time, but eventually I'd binge pretty hard on chocolate, ice cream, more than one tub of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, or whatever else I'd been denying myself. Now I can include those same foods, smaller portions, often a few times a week without any guilt, and my cravings have really completely died down. That's how I stay lean without being obsessive. So don't try to lose body fat with extreme measures that you can't keep up in the long term. That means months and years. Include your favorite treat foods on a regular basis in small quantities so your cravings don't get out of control, because you need to stick this out and be patient. Fat loss slows down as you get leaner. Unless you're already pretty lean, getting to a low body fat percentage isn't about doing something extreme for a few weeks. It's about building a system that you can live with. It does take some time to get used to a lifestyle of moving more and eating consistently well for it to be part of your identity. Progress is not going to be linear, so you need to stick it out. The leaner you are, the slower the progress is. That's completely natural, completely normal. But stick with the 5 rules consistently and you'll get there if it's important to you. If you want a little kick in the butt to get inspired for fat loss, watch this video here.